this, I don't think, has recorded. We will find out soon if it has or if it hasn't. We'll find out soon enough. I asked it to record, and for some reason it's decided not to, but we'll find out soon enough if we'll see. So if it doesn't, yay. Welcome to this. And you've just missed stuff because it hasn't recorded.
Welcome to the prequel.
Yeah, welcome to the deleted scenes, as it were. Hopefully it's done.
It'll be an extra on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, because a lot of people are saying, yes, you
go on.
With your question. I was going to say that with the Star Wars to Journey of the Force Awakens, Shattered Empire, that obviously, if you've been reading that, it features like certain things to do with after Return of the Jedi, and whether we were reading it and then there'd be a case of there may be little things in there we don't really pick up on, and then it's a case of whenever we go back after we read it after we've seen Force Awakens, we're like, oh right, that makes more sense now than it did before. Sorry, go on, Dave.
I was going to say, what do you guys want to see happen in the new film? We haven't really touched on that. Like, where do you kind of want it to go, or what do you want to have, like, certain characters' paths go?
You go first, Sam.
I definitely want Kylo and Rey to be related. I want them to be siblings. I think that'd be really, really cool. If Kylo is, I'm just going to say it, Han and Leia's son, and has turned to the dark side. That'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see that. I like the idea that he is, kind of hunting down these Sith relics, if you like, and finishing what Vader started. I think that's really cool. But what I want most from this film is I want to see, which I think is going to happen, a case of like the older ones sort of passing the torch to the younger ones. And I want to come out of the film enjoying seeing these old stars, but not feeling that the film was about them. I want the film to be about Rey and Kylo and Finn, but just having all the others in there will just be like a really nice experience. But I just hope it's got that classic Star Wars feel to it, a lot of action, and I would be completely happy with not seeing Luke until the last 15, 20 minutes of the film, to be honest with you, and episode 8 being about him, but we shall see.
I don't know whether it's going to be a case of with Finn having the lightsaber and looking kind of petrified, whether he is trained in the Jedi way, or whether it's a case of we see those two face off and then we see a certain somebody from the wilderness come out and say to Kylo that if you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you will ever imagine. And then seeing him as like a ghost, like Obi-Wan in the episode 8 and 9. I would agree with Millie what she wrote. Shattered Empire was such a letdown for me, so I do hope that it reads better after the movie comes out. It's certainly not, for being 4-parter, it didn't really read as well as the likes of the main Star Wars, Darth Vader. I would even go to say that Princess Leia actually read slightly better. I did not like Chewbacca, so Millie, do not buy Chewbacca because it was not good. Because even the kid can't understand what they're saying. But yeah, I just want to see, kind of what's happened to the old guard and kind of like you say, like the passing to the new. There has been shots where you see Rey sitting in the cockpit of the Falcon. So whether it's a case of, we're home, does that mean that he's been away from the Falcon, or the Falcon's been stolen or something from him, and maybe Rey has found that wherever she's been scavenging and she's like, oh, I found this here. Not that it's going to have, like in case of this property is being lost, please phone Han Solo on this number. But it would be a case of, whether he's a case that I reckon that ship's mine, so why would he say we're home whenever he's, or maybe it's a case of there's something in the Falcon and this is the first time that they've encountered, resistance, like we've seen the demise of the Empire. Now we see the rise maybe of the First Order. So is it a case of something similar, like the stormtroopers in the Falcon and they're both got the blasters and they're going, oh, we're home, like this is what we're used to. We're used to the action. we haven't seen any action for a while, you know. So, what do we also think of the runtime of it, with it being, you know, like about a 2-hour film? Are we happy with that?
At first, I was slightly let down because I wanted it just from selfish reasons.
5 hours.
Yeah, for selfish reasons. But I would have liked a good kind of, you know, 2 hours, 35 minutes, something like that. But if there's not going to be much build up and they're just going to get straight into it, then thinking about it, the runtime does seem pretty sensible, especially when it's only the start of, you know, at least a new trilogy. So yeah, it's they've probably got it about right, to be honest.
Isn't it just shorter than Revenge of the Sith?
I think so, yeah.
Which was quite long, wasn't it? Was that 220?
Yeah. I think it was that maybe the longest out of the 6 of them? I can't remember.
I think
I could get the
A New Hope is the shortest, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, I mean, they're going to keep it around about the same time anyway, to keep it in keeping with everything else. I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, JJ, go out of your way to make as much Star Wars as you want for this film. Yeah, keeping it within the same run times as everything else makes sense. As long as it's not rushed and it's not too much information in a short period of time, it'll be fun.
Yeah, you don't want to get to point A to point B, but then just like that, you know, we kind of want to pace along. But you know,
oh hey 3PO, yeah guys, yeah, you don't want any introductions rushed, anything like that.
Yeah. I've never been a huge Star Trek fan, so I will ask the Star Trek fan here, which is Dave. Obviously, with JJ, he's done a good job of bringing the Star Trek franchise back. So, as a Star Trek fan, how did you feel with him doing the 2 Star Trek movies that he did, and kind of did that make your hopes for Episode 7 just a little bit bigger?
See, with Star Trek, when I was younger, I never got into it. I always thought of Star Trek as like the poor man's Star Wars, so to speak.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything about
so I always sort of ignored it. I was kind of like, no, Star Wars came first. That was like the way I always thought about it. But then, like, obviously, it wasn't. But in my world, that's how it happened. But yeah, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films, I love those films. I think they're great. They put a new spin on an old idea kind of thing. Just sort of revamped it, made it, out of the 12 Star Trek films that there are, those 2 are the most watchable for me. And then after Disney and Lucasfilm announced that JJ was going to direct Force Awakens, I was beyond excited because I knew what he'd done for the Star Trek franchise, and I just thought they're onto a winner here. So I'm hoping he's going to do well, but obviously we don't want him to be known as Jar Jar Abrams after this one if he messes it up.
The great thing about JJ is, you know, everyone's heard the story about when he said that at first he didn't want to direct this movie because he wanted to experience it as a fan. He loves Star Wars. He's a massive fan, and I think he's an excellent choice. I mean, like you say, those Star Trek movies, they're brilliant. They really are. And I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but those 2 movies are so well done and put together. I think he's I really do think he's a brilliant choice, and I think that they've definitely got completely the right team behind Star Wars at the minute. It's just perfect, from all the producers and the director and the writers. It just seems they've completely got the right set of people.
So haven't they got like isn't Lawrence Kasdan in there who wrote
Return of the Jedi? Yeah. Millie says, I just hope there's not a lot of lens flares in the new Star Wars movie. Although there seems to be a lens flare in the trailer to do with whenever Kylo Ren is standing, you know, like you see the red, but it's kind of, I think it looks cool. So
I
I don't
think
think
that
it's
one
going to be,
was
you know,
kind of like intentional because it looks like some sort of big laser that's heading somewhere.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
It would make sense.
whether that's the Star Killer or whatever.
But they're
you
not
know,
going to have a shiny new Enterprise like Star Trek. Whereas all new, everything's going to be a bit worn down,
Yeah.
isn't it? So 30 years after Jedi, so I'm assuming.
And everything was pretty rough to begin with 30 years ago, so it's going to be, you know, it's going to be like really, it's going to be like Del Boy and his three-wheeler. You know, the Falcon Chewie may need to get out and push. Maybe that's what it'll need. Who knows? Yeah. So obviously, I was saying about JJ, and you know, like he had some of the original cast in it. I know Leonard Nimoy was in the Star Trek film, so it seems to be maybe it's a case of he's wanted whenever. I know there was talk of before Lucas sold the rights to Disney, he had lunch with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and stuff, and said, you know, like, when I'm selling the rights to Disney, they will be doing a new Star Wars film. Are you in for this? And they kind of all just went yes, you know, because I know from watching documentaries and things that they all signed on to do 3 films, except Harrison Ford, who had only signed on to do 1. And as we were talking about, obviously ages before we did this, that in episode 1, Qui-Gon Jinn dies. In episode 4, Obi-Wan dies. In episode 7, Simon, who do you think, if anyone, will die? And who do you hope does not?
The first film of a trilogy.
Die. Mm-hmm.
I don't want any of the old timers to go out in this movie.
Old man.
But yeah, I've got a horrible feeling that
Got a bad
Han
feeling
is
about
going to
this.
go. Yeah, and to be honest, if Han goes, I can't see Chewie lasting either, unfortunately. But I don't want them to die at all, ever.
I like the way you said, I don't want him to die at all, ever. I kind of just looked at the floor like, leave me alone.
It's all right. Just got something in my eye.
Yeah. Why about if he brings Jar Jar Binks back and he dies at the hands of Kylo Ren? That would appease all Star Wars fans, I think.
People would love that, yeah. Okay, so Millie says in the scene in the trailer where Rey is crying, it looks like Han is lying down in front of her. Now, I thought this, but I think it's Chewie.
Yeah.
Because you can see all his
looks
fur.
A bit of fur.
Yeah,
and he's a bullet.
Could be an Ewok. Could be Wicket as the way in the Falcon.
An Ewok doesn't have Chewbacca's ammo sash thing.
But it does also look like Han's jacket. I'll give you that. It does seem as if. But I thought the more you look at it,
cold.
The more you look at it, it does look like he's holding Han's jacket, not Han. So it might.
And then whenever we see later on, whenever they're all standing like this, Chewbacca has a bandage on his arm. So did he get a gunshot and he's okay?
Maybe.
You love the fact that with Star Wars, with everything, it's always a case of, you know, like you just talk and you just kind of, yeah, what about this? What about this?
See, with the trailer, I thought, well, my interpretation was that it's Chewie that is laying in front of Rey when she's crying. And then when you get the scene of Han and Leia hugging when she's upset, there's no Chewie in the background. To me, that kind of said, like, Han's got back to the rebel base, kind of, the resistance base, sorry. And he's told her that Chewie's not made it back. And because the 3 of them are close.
Am I also right in thinking as well that in that scene where you see Han and Rey and Finn approaching what looks like some sort of temple, Chewie's not in that either?
Yeah, he's not there.
And
it's
sorry, go on, Chris.
It's Finn, Han, Rey, and BB-8.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want that Chewie to die.
And when they're in the Falcon, when Han says it's all true, you see Han, that hologram thing.
All I'll say,
Rey and Finn.
Look at the San Diego trailer. Who's sitting beside Han in the front of the Falcon? It's Rey. It's not Chewie.
I've seen that was in that sort of behind the scenes.
The Vanity Fair. the behind the scenes thing that you saw Ray sitting there, and then you see JJ the other side of the cockpit, and then Harrison Ford walking down and just gingerly like sitting in the seat, so you don't see Chewie.
Hang on, guys. Sorry, just a sec. I'm on the. Always an interruption.
Another thing is as well, of course, from a completely practical level, is out of all of the original trilogy stars that are returning, Peter Mayhew is really, really struggling in terms of just moving about and things these days. I mean, at Celebration, Mark Hamill had to, hold him arm in arm coming to stage. He's struggling. So the question's got to be raised, how long can he physically play Chewie for? Because they've said all along they didn't want anybody else playing Chewbacca because Peter's got the moves and everything down so well that fans would know if somebody else was being Chewie. Yeah. So that's got to be taken into account as well. If he's really struggling as much as it looks like he is, he's going to be limited to what he can even do in these films anyway.
Yeah. I mean, when I managed to meet Peter Mayhew, and he was in a wheelchair at the time, and since then he has had both knees replaced. So whether that was obviously in preparation for the film, but like you say, how much longer he could actually be doing that.
Wasn't it at San Diego that he was actually sitting out in the crowd? And they actually had him, like, whenever people were going up to ask a question, he was sitting beside him. So his legs were kind of stretched out and he had like a walking stick, that kind of thing. But
he has got an awesome
he does
stick,
look.
Though. It's a lightsaber.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But you don't want to see Chewie walking around with a lightsaber stick, Then I got this from IKEA. Yay. Yeah, but as you say, it's the same with Kenny Baker. Like, obviously they've put him in R2-D2. I don't know how much, whether he's just done like a little bit, because
I'm on the understanding that the R2s are now completely robotic.
I know that Anthony Daniels has said that Kenny Baker is not in this film at all, and that he's just being credited just as a thing to
Out
Kenny Baker.
Principle.
But he's not. Yeah. And apparently he wasn't in Revenge of the Sith hardly either, was he? A lot of that was done by other means.
Well, I think that's maybe just Anthony Daniels being Anthony Daniels. Like you could see like some of the things that he said about this film and what have you. Like I think he seems a bit of a he doesn't like to be interviewed and things. If you've watched that Bring Back Star Wars that just Lee Collins did ages ago, like he talked to Dave Prowse and he talked to Jeremy Bulloch, and they all seemed really lovely. Went to Jeremy Bulloch's home and talked to him, and like he showed him like the trading card that had the, let's just say down below, that kind of like I'm not really explaining this well. I don't really want to, with a woman watching as well. But basically, something looked out of place, and he showed that to him, and he said, like, I really wish he had shown that. I think that's terrible, and all this here. So I think out of all of them, he seems the prima donna out of all of them, in my opinion. I mean, I'd think if he's at Celebration, which we'll talk about in a minute, I don't think I'll meet him, because I think he seems a bit up himself.
I have met Anthony Daniels, and he was such a great guy to meet. Yeah, he actually was. Yeah, I'm not.
That shut me up.
No, we were all queued up for so long. I don't know what the delay was, but then by the time he actually got there, he came down along the line, apologized to everyone, said hello to everyone, walked back up to his table, greeted everyone, shook hands, took a photo at the desk, signed their items, took a break by coming down the line, saying hello to everyone, saying sorry for the delay, went back to his desk, started signing again. He just did that constantly, even though it was actually causing more of a delay to come and say sorry for the delay. But,
I'm terribly sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, that was when I met him. And when was that? That was like 2011 now. So it was not that long ago, but maybe he's changed his ways.
Maybe
he maybe just doesn't like.
Maybe we're going to say something. Maybe he doesn't. Sam, were you going to say something there? Because it looked like you were.
I was just going to say, like, to me, Anthony Daniels is quintessentially Star Wars. You know, a lot of the kind of, especially on the official stuff like the Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff, a lot of the special features in one way or another involve Anthony Daniels hosting them, or you'll see in a lot of the official books that are released, he'll do the forwards for them or that kind of thing. Like, to me, he is Star Wars, and I think sometimes his attitude isn't great, especially in terms of this new film. There's not been a lot of positivity coming from him at all, but I'd still absolutely love to meet him because, yeah, to me, he is Star Wars, the same as...
Well, to be fair, I said I wouldn't beat Billy Piper no matter, so...
This is true.
Did anyone go on the Star Tours ride at Disneyland at all?
No, I haven't been to Disneyland.
Is that the one?
Anthony Daniels does the intro on that as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I went on that one.
It's that simulator thing.
Yeah, I've been on that.
Okay, so obviously episode 7 is out in December, but a couple of months after that, we go to Star Wars Celebration. Now, we all bought our tickets and got them the 3-day pass before they sold out. We bought our tickets.
Like, if that's the sort of thing you do, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't book hotels in advance and then decide to try and get tickets or anything like that. We don't want to grind anyone's gears. Hey, Dave.
It does.
Back to Dave's channel, you know what I'm talking about. But was our, you know, like, I've always wanted to do something like this, but with the release of episode 7, did that make our journey to Star Wars Celebration just seem that bit more inevitable? Was it a case of because we have such a passion for Star Wars and with the new film coming out, we're like, this is even better because we may see a new trailer for Rogue One, we may see a new trailer for a new teaser for episode 8 or whatever. So, Simon, just how excited were you whenever these tickets went on sale? And then we found out that we got charged an extra £18 for VAT, which wasn't meant as well.
You know what grinds my gears?
I was just insanely excited. The fact there's a new film coming out wouldn't have affected me going because I've wanted to go to Celebration for years and years and years. So as soon as it was announced over here, it was inevitable that I was going. But yeah, it definitely makes you even more excited. The prospect of maybe even some of the Force Awakens guys being there, or like you say, a trailer being shown for Rogue One, it definitely adds to the excitement. And you know, at the minute we've got all the build up to the film and the excitement of the film, and then as soon as that's over with, we're really on the road to Celebration then. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a crazy few days, I think.
Are you excited, Dave, or is that another stupid question?
A little bit. I remember me and Simon talking about it, like in the days leading up to the tickets going on sale. We were like, "Oh my god, what are we going to do? What if they sell out instantly?" God, I don't think I could handle that. But yes, ridiculously excited. When it was announced that it was in London, I have travelled to Germany for Celebration in 2013. So if it was in Europe again, somewhere else, I would have probably gone. But it's just convenient that it is about an hour on the train for me. So that is amazing because I missed the 2007 one. For some reason, I don't know why. I don't know how I missed it, but apparently I did. But yeah, exactly the same as Simon. That it wouldn't affect the new film. Does not affect the fact I would have gone. But if there is anything to do with the future films at this event, it just adds to it. But yeah, there was plenty to do at the last con, and that was with nothing to do with this film coming out. That was 2 years ago. There was nothing extra sort of thing. We had a 3D viewing of Attack of the Clones, which I managed to sleep through. Sat down, put my glasses on, and fell asleep. But yeah, I imagine that we're going to have another 3D showing because they had Revenge of the Sith this year. So I imagine we're going to get A New Hope in 3D.
Oh, want Return of the Jedi or Revenge
Well, there
of the
might
Sith?
a couple of years.
Make it so. Oh no, that's the wrong franchise. Sorry. I was just, You know, finally, that you're sitting there in front of your computer screen and you're waiting for the time to clock down, and then your nervousness, you start to get sweaty palms. You could be, as I've said, you could be the fastest typer in the world, but as soon as you see that clock saying you have 8 minutes to get these tickets, your fingers just hit 4, I hit 9, and it's just a case of you're double checking everything, and then you're going through, and then you hit submit, and something comes up. You're like, "What's wrong? You forgot to add what gender you are." What? Like, go, like, you know, like that. So we all got our tickets. We were all really, really happy about that. Other people are going. Other people have missed out. You know, like delaying it. And you know, like you can only get a Friday or Sunday. I kind of wanted to get a VIP one, but they sold out in about 30 seconds or something. So I read, which is kind of not surprising, but it's just a case of getting those tickets. After I didn't really know an awful lot about Celebration until I'd watched the trailer. I'd seen like the highlights and things like that. I didn't really know an awful lot about it. And then obviously with me starting to go to cons and with us all going to London Film Comic Con together, and with us just having, you know, the likes of Mark has a really strong love for Star Wars, but I think us three kind of talk more on a regular basis, hence why we're doing this about Star Wars. And it's a case of, then it was like, you know, saying, are you going to go? Are you going to do it? Yeah. And then saying to Simon about, you know, do you want to get a hotel and sort that out? And then trying to figure out, you know, seeing the hotel prices and 460 odd quid. And it's like, what? No. And then we find one that we stayed at before that was like half the price. And it's a 10-minute train ride. So I'm fine with that. And Simon seems fine with that. I said to him that if he wasn't, he could pay the rest and we could have the one right outside the arena. That was fine. But he said no. So, yeah, but I can't wait for that. You know, obviously with the London Comic Con, we met a lot of people who had been involved in things, whether it be like Doctor Who or whether it be Agent Carter, but enough said on her. Obviously, you'll see that photo that I took of Simon while she was on her phone and he wanted to get something sent. You can see how
it's amazing.
Like, I don't like you. Yes. So now we're just going to meet like Star Wars people and, you know, the likes of Rebel Force Radio, which I listen to on a regular basis. They do a lot of the panel stuff and things like that. So it's in good hands. It's not a case of they just get Joe Blogs from off the street to come in and talk to, you know, Carrie Fisher or whatever. There's people there to do with that love the franchise, and that makes that even better. The only thing I've said to Simon is I'm worried about coming home with either an extra suitcase or no money left, you know, like just kind of being in hock for the rest of my life because I've bought, you know, like a replica size of, you know, Han Solo or something like that. Like, yeah, I'll just take this on the plane as my +1, set him aside, you know. But that's the thing. I'm already starting to buy T-shirts now. That, you know, hence why I bought something like this, because I like wearing T-shirts that you don't see all the time. So now that's going to be a growing trend, is that we're going to have to try and wear Star Wars T-shirts whenever we do this and not try to replicate the same ones. So that's going to be fun.
I did buy a new Star Wars T-shirt yesterday, actually.
I bought one on that shirt of the day thing, which I did. What one did you buy, Dave?
Was that yesterday?
I can't remember. I had one that had Rey, Finn, and Poe.
Oh, no, it's not that.
What one did you buy then? Or did I have to wait to find out?
It's a kind of Boba Fett comic book Spider-Man like kind of mashup thing.
Yeah, like the first appearance of the Punisher. There we are, Millie. We got a comic book reference in there.
The Amazing Smuggler or something like that instead of the Amazing Spider-Man, yeah. And it's got.
I kind of did laugh at the one to do with the droid X-rated show, that the droid show the third leg. I thought that was quite funny. And your mother is so fat as well.
I have not seen these.
I didn't. Okay. So they are. And Simon's like that. It's disgusting. Right. Anything else to go over, gents? Because we've near enough talked for about an hour, which is quite strange. Simon, anything else to go over with?
I don't know.
Well, that's handy. Because obviously, if you don't, then we could just wrap this up. Or if you want to keep going, we can keep going. I'm trying to think of other things. Oh yes, so Simon, you've read the Star Wars Aftermath book, which you talked about earlier on,
which may or may not have recorded.
Teething problem. First episode. Give me a break. What did you think of Aftermath and the aftermath of our friendship after that moment?
Ooh. It's good, but it didn't blow me away, in all honesty.
Brilliant.
It's
I hope that's not something the shape of things to come.
It's
I read that part.
It's an interesting insight into where the galaxy is at after Jedi. It's got a couple of really awesome characters that I'd love to see put in the movies somewhere or get their own novels, because there's a couple of characters that have been created that are insanely cool. But there's several moments in it that are pretty cheesy, feel like they've just been put in there just as a cheap pun, and they don't work. They just fall really flat. And I don't know. Sometimes it seems like the author's trying a bit too hard. And I think for the first big release, like post Jedi, I think it was a bit of a letdown that we didn't really see any of our central characters that much that we've come to love in the movies. It was more about, new characters being introduced and stuff, which I don't think a lot of people are expecting. So in terms of story, as the thing to sort of get people excited for The Force Awakens, I don't think it did the job properly, unfortunately.
Okay. Scathing reviews there from Simon. Hopefully he's not watching. Dave, have you read any of the new publications, whether it be like the Star Wars comics or anything like that, in since Star Wars has went back to Marvel at all?
I have recently read the first collected book of 1 to 6 of the regular Star Wars run, and I've also read 1 to 6 of Darth Vader. The Star Wars run I really enjoyed. It flowed so well. It just feels like Star Wars should, I thought. Like you can imagine the characters saying what they're saying. They look like how they look on screen as much as possible for a comic book. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of it. Darth Vader was not as good, and I've noticed that it has got a few panels in there which tie into the regular Star Wars run, where Boba Fett has a job to do. I will continue with Darth Vader, but I don't think it was as good as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they doing a crossover with Star Wars and Vader? They're going to merge, aren't they, in one?
There's a Vader Down series coming. I don't know what.
Yeah,
is that what you're on about?
I know that there is. I know there is a new C-3PO one coming out to explain how he got his red arm. So
that's riveting stuff,
isn't it? It'll probably be a forward by Anthony Daniels. Millie says she's been loving every issue of the main Star Wars comic. I agree. I did enjoy the Darth Vader comic whenever it started, but I find now it's a kind of a case of it seems to be going on too long. I did read the Leia comic, which wasn't that great. Lando, I just couldn't get into either because it's him and Lobot actually speaks and is like, right, okay, fair enough. And Kanan, the Last Padawan, I read an issue of, and I kind of want to wait for the trade or the collected series or whatever.
So good, so good. The Kanan series.
And I want to read that now after it's a case of, like watching Rebels and things like that. I kind of want to read that and see how that goes because I can't really get I always find with Star Wars that the back issues are kind of a bit harder to get. So trying to get issues 2 up till now is quite hard to get. But I do have a couple of blank Star Wars. That is a horrible noise, Dave.
I'm sorry. I think my
yeah. So
my wire was on me.
I do have I do have a couple of blank Star Wars covers to take with me whenever I'm going to the Comic-Con next week. So Stephanie Hans is going to be there. So I'm maybe thinking, price dependent on whether she'll do a Princess Leia sketch on my Star Wars one. So I'll just have to wait and see how that goes. Sam, you've read the comics as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Did they kind of match up to, because I know you're a big fan of the Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir series as well.
Yeah. The main series, I think, has been brilliant. Like Dave said, it really feels like the characters. It looks like the characters. It feels like you're back in that universe again. The Darth Vader one started off amazing, I thought. I was really, really excited for it. The first couple of issues were great, brilliant artwork. And then it just slipped and I think got really, really poor. I've not read the past couple of issues, but supposedly it started to pick back up again. So, but Leia was not really for me. I was a bit disappointed by Leia, in all honesty. Lando wasn't great. Chewbacca's dreadful. And Kanan is just Kanan's my favorite one by far. It's absolutely amazing, and it's like what we were saying earlier on. I think without giving too much away because of Dave not seeing it, but I think you don't have to have been reading the comic obviously to understand Rebels, but I think by reading the Kanan comic, you definitely get more of a feel for that character and the way Freddie Prinze Jr. is playing him, and I think certain lines and things that Kanan says in the series now have a lot more of an impact on you because of what you've seen and read in the comics. So I think they've done that really well.
Okay, cool. I think we shall call this an evening then, since we've wanted to go about an hour. It's just been slightly over an hour. So before we go off, I always like to promote our Twitter handles. So Simon, if you would like to promote your Twitter and your YouTube page, please.
Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter at Simon_M_Davis, and my YouTube is Starkiller Base Reviews.
All one word.
Yep.
Dave?
My Twitter handle is D_Munns, MUNNS, and you can find my YouTube at Dave Munns. Funny enough.
No underscore there. Yes, so obviously if you want to be more interactive with the show, if you're watching here and you have an iPhone, you can download blab.im on your iPad. You just need to click that it's an iPhone, and then you can download it there. And then you can join us at any stage, like the magnificent Millie Akers has. So thank you for that, Millie, and leaving comments down below. You can also follow myself on Twitter, Vinto316, and Vintomania on YouTube. And you can also follow the podcast, Order 66 Podcast on Twitter. And if you follow that, then you'll find the link to this stuff. This glorious goodness, if it's recorded at all, which would be wonderful.
I think it has.
I think it has as well. We should probably say as well that if you want to tweet us any questions at the Order 66 Podcast Twitter, or if you're watching on YouTube and you leave any questions underneath the video on there, we will answer all your questions in future videos 100%. Unfortunately, Dave will not be with us next week because he's got more important things in life.
And you could also email us at order66podcast@gmail.com.
Yes. But yeah, hopefully me and Chris will be back next week in some capacity. Hopefully Chris will record it right next week. And I will
not be here that remote then.
And we will be dealing with discussing Star Wars Rebels.
And I look forward to watching it.
Yeah, so go and watch Rebels instead. Go do that. Do that before you watch next week's show. Go and do that. Yes, so there will be spoilers because we will talk about Star Wars Rebels Series 2 and kind of a bit of Series 1, and try not to spoil it for somebody via text message.
Cheers.
No problem. Right, so hopefully I find out how to actually end this, and that'll do. So hopefully if I slide the record button off, it'll not record it anymore. So
plan.
yes. So Millie says, "Great show, you guys." Thank you, Millie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Millie.
So I've been Chris Vint,
I've been Simon.
I've been Dave Munns.
and I suppose it's only up to us to say, "May the force be with you."
Always.
Yes,
Forever.
you just laugh. Right.